I'm Kristy.
And I'm Courtney, and this is Heard at the Bar.
Welcome to another episode. Look at us go. We're just like
Well, and we're
putting
also
it out
doing it
there.
from a different location where I'm at my house.
Yeah, for
You're
those
at
of you
your
who
house
are
watching us.
watching, Courtney has a slightly different background today. And
I
we're
do.
relying on natural. I'm relying on natural light, so we got to talk fast.
Yes. Yes. So we thought we wouldn't leave you without an episode this week. So we decided to just record from where we were and just see how it goes.
Exactly. I know. I feel like this makes us even more fancy.
Makes us fancy, but I also miss the seeing you because I'm seeing you on a computer screen. It's a little
I
bit
know,
different.
and there's a lot of energy that happens when we're in the same room together. So this will be interesting to see how it works, because it's different when you're face to face than
It
when
is. I
you're
feel like this is kind of like Zoom. Do you remember back in COVID when
yeah
we started doing Zoom calls and things? This is
yeah
what it feels like. That you can't see someone, you're just talking to somebody on a video. It's
yeah. The
reminiscent of
energy is
COVID
just different.
days.
Yeah. But
Yes,
here we are.
energy is
Here
different.
we are. We're
Yes.
together. This is happening.
Yes. We're still here. Yay.
Yeah. We're still here.
So, well, were you going to say something?
Well, I was going to say the reason why we wouldn't. Hi, I'm Kristy. Welcome. The reason why we are doing this usually we tape on a Thursday or a Friday to be prepared for a Wednesday drop. That's a technical term for those of you out there. That just means that we're going to publish it on a Wednesday. But we're fancy now and we're professionals, so we say drop on a Wednesday. Is like busy. We are busy people. I'm in my say yes era, which is awesome, but it also means that I'm doing a lot these days and keeping myself pretty busy. And you're kind of in the same boat. You're at the Raptors game on Thursday night
Yes, on
watching
Thursday night, I was
Kian,
watching my
your sweet
son
pea.
dance. Yeah.
Yes. How
So we
exciting
went
is
to
that?
Toronto. Good. Like that was the first time I've seen him this year, and craziness. Like I was looking back at videos of him last year when we saw him dance, and then this year he is so
Yeah.
much better. Like he is just
Oh,
leaps and bounds, leaps and bounds.
yeah.
So proud. Yeah.
That's
So
awesome.
yeah, so it was really
Yeah.
good to see. So we went to see him last year in his very first home game, and then this year in I guess it's the second last home game that they did so far. Anyways, this series they're in the playoffs, so it was really good to see him dancing live. It was so much fun.
Yeah.
I was like telling people who were sitting near us, I was like, that boy down there with the beard, that's mine. He's mine.
I
I'm
did
his
that.
mama. Yep, I'm his mama. And then one guy actually said to me at the end of the game, he was like, "Was that your son?" And I was like, "That was my
Yeah.
son."
Yeah. Oh, Courtney,
Yeah,
that's so awesome. I'm so happy
yeah,
for you. That's so
yeah.
cool. Well, and
And your
my
daughter just
yes,
had an engagement party on Saturday.
engaged. That's
Crazy.
right. We had the party on Saturday night. The wedding will be a year from this fall, so we've got some
Oh,
time.
okay, okay,
It was a great event. We had I can't legally say the full amount, but for legal reasons, we'll say there was 40 people. It
okay.
was
Yep.
and everybody came. Like we put the
Awesome.
invitations out, and you always expect that. Like I think the rule is like 10% or 15% either will decline or won't actually
Yeah.
show up on the day of. Everybody said yes.
Really?
Everybody showed up.
Wow.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was so sweet and such a proud mama moment to see so many people
That's
show up for
awesome.
your kid, right? Like it's
That's it. I love that.
yeah, seeing people appreciate what your child is doing, has done, is as a person is just so heartwarming.
Yeah, I love
Which
that.
then like, so we've talked about this off of the podcast before, especially in the studio. We've had these conversations of
Yes.
because as women, you start to talk about your birth stories and kind of how did it all come to be. And it's funny because you and I have very different experiences. Even both of my pregnancies were very different experiences. So we thought today we'd talk about our stories, how we became to be mama bears.
Yes. Yeah.
Yours
I
is
think, yeah, I think that the difference being how I've noticed in the studio we have a few pregnant women in the studio,
yeah,
and I some of them came about it similar to me.
right.
So we struggled. We did have some struggles, and obviously we'll talk about that. But it's I love it. I love in the studio how open we are with our stories, and that then
Yeah.
helps the clients to be open. Like, and I've had like I have a couple of ladies in the studio who have let me know that they're very early on in their pregnancy. We have a couple who have
Yes.
now hit their mid, I think. They're in the middle of it now. So past the, middle part. So good to go. Like,
Well, and
and
I've
it's so
I've said
great
that
to see.
when I've been interviewed, is that we're really lucky because we get to be a part of so many firsts,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
more often than not, we are the ones that find out even before parents do, or even maybe even partner does, because they need to let us know for safety reasons that they're
Yeah, and
pregnant.
I love how two of them ended up texting me on social media to be like, "Hey, I don't know how to say this to you,
Yeah.
but I'm not
Yeah.
ready to say it, but I
Right.
need to let you know." And I'm like, "Oh my God, that's so
Yeah.
great." But
Well,
then
and
also
it's
in class, you have to be very mindful not to say it out loud.
exactly, it's nerve-wracking because within those
Yeah.
first 8 weeks, 12 weeks,
Hmm.
it's scary. And
Hmm.
I mean, we've all either have experienced or know someone who has experienced a miscarriage, and how devastating that is. And I have had those situations where I've been told to keep them safe
Hmm.
during a class, and then I don't see them for a few months, and then I find out
Yeah.
afterwards that they've, and I feel like we may have to put a little disclaimer with this,
We'll definitely put a disclaimer on this when we post it, just
because
because.
it's challenging. And considering how natural being pregnant, getting pregnant, childbirth is, and has been done for ever since the dawn of time, how sometimes it's not meant to be. And for some women, how it just, it's the most devastating thing that you can go through. And it just seems so unfair sometimes when you consider, again, like I wasn't trying with my first, and she was a surprise. And then there are some who try and try and try, and it just doesn't happen.
We had 9 losses before Kian, and he was an
9
IVF baby.
losses.
Yep, he was an IVF baby. So
So Courtney, like
it's
how did you, like at maybe 3, I think I would be to the point of I can't do this anymore. How did you continue on? How did you like have the strength to keep trying?
so I think for me, I always wanted to be a mom. So that was my thing.
Yeah.
Like I always
Yeah.
wanted from the time I was really, really young, my whole goal in life was to get married, have babies, be a
Right.
mom. That was
Right.
the whole thing. So when I got married, I was 24,
Okay.
and I did my whole, the little workup that you go to the doctor and you're like, "Hey, married, blah 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 blah," and she's like,
Yeah.
"Oh yeah, yay." And then she looked at it and she was like, "Okay, I think your mom struggled when she tried to have kids, so just think on that," because we were like, "Oh, my husband was like, oh, I think when I'm 30, I want to have kids," and he was 25 at the
Right.
time, and I was like, "Oh, that's a really long time," but okay. So then I came home and I was like, "Well, the doctor says, we might have some difficulty." And he was like, "Oh, okay. Well, what happens, happens then." And so we gave it the old college try for about a year and a half, I think. And then the doctor was like, "Well, maybe you should just go get, checked." And I was like,
Yeah.
"Okay." First thing the doctor does is do an internal, and was like, "You know what? I think you might have endometriosis." And then we went through all the different, symptoms that I had and that I'd been suffering with. And then they ask about your history. And so I tell them about my mom. And then we start talking about my grandmother. And then he's like, does kind of sound like they both might have had it. And I was like,
Right.
really?
Yeah.
Okay. So then the first time we did a lap where they go in and they just, check stage 4 endometriosis. He said it was like a shotgun. So endometriosis, for those who don't know, it's the lining of the uterus that grows at other places. And apparently I have it everywhere inside. So, and it does cause a lot of pain. And I was in enormous pain from the time I think I was probably 16 or 17, like doubled over, just terrible, terrible, terrible pain.
Yeah.
And so he cleaned it all up, did all that stuff. So we then ended up getting pregnant and losing. So the furthest I made it was 9 weeks. So I would get to 6, 7 weeks and then start bleeding. And it just kept happening. So we ended up going to see a specialist, Dr. Velos in London, and he ended up doing another lap, lasering all the endometriosis that had now since grown again.
Right. Yeah.
And
Yeah. Because it doesn't stop until your ovaries
yeah,
are
so
done producing.
and then I guess my uterus basically was folded over itself.
Oh gosh.
Backwards.
Okay.
So it was backwards and folded over.
Oh.
So he ended up tying my uterus to my abdomen at the front, propping it up. So then we went and
Courtney.
we did IVF, so in vitro fertilization.
Yeah.
And they actually had to take one individual sperm and put it into the egg to make it work. And they did that. I can't remember. I have everything written down from back then for if my kids ever go through something like this. I wrote it all down. And I remember watching the embryos and they would send us pictures and things like that. So they ended up putting 2 back. We ended up getting pregnant with twins. And I think Kian is an IVF baby. He absorbed his twin when he was in utero at about 11 weeks. At about 11 weeks, he absorbed. And it's so funny, we thought we lost the pregnancy again.
Right.
Because I was bleeding and took time off work, the whole 9 yards, only to find out he continued. So,
oh my goodness.
So
Miracle
I
baby.
went into the hospital with him at 34 weeks. I think I went into labor. And they were able to keep labor off until he was 37 weeks. So he was a wee one, but we were able to have him, which was great. And we started trying a year later, I think, for another. We ended up having to do IVF again. Only I got pregnant with an ectopic pregnancy.
Right.
My
So explain an ectopic.
So ectopic is basically where the embryo, it attaches some in your fallopian tubes. So what ended up happening was the embryo attached in the fallopian tubes and then ruptured and I started bleeding out. So I almost lost my life with that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So they ended up taking the baby and the tube and everything in emergency surgery. And we got pregnant with Neve 6 weeks later, naturally.
6 weeks later. How? Oh my gosh.
So,
naturally.
That
You know what though? I'm sorry. This just explains so much about Neve.
Yeah, right.
Right? The strong, I am here on my terms. Ain't nobody gonna force me.
Yes. Yeah. So she basically, they said that in the end, the issue had been my fallopian tubes all along. They were toxic. So when they took the one tube out, they said it was toxic. So any embryo that traveled through it would have not been well. So by taking out that tube, it literally, because I also, on top of endometriosis, have something called PCOS, so polycystic ovary syndrome.
You
So
had this card stacked
I had
against you from the very beginning.
against me. I know. And so basically, my left ovary worked, not
Yeah.
my right one, but the fallopian tube on my left side was removed. So the only fallopian tube that worked was my right. And they said what happens generally is like the fallopian tube will float over to where the egg comes out of. So when I ovulated,
No.
yeah, so they said that's what would have happened. It would have floated over to catch that egg and floated back. Crazy, right? Like stacked against you. I don't know how people become, I don't know how what happened to you happened with everything stacked against you. Like it's so crazy, the body, how I just can't.
Courtney.
Yeah. So that was my basically we had decided when we got pregnant with Neve, we had decided we were done. Kian was going to be our
Right.
only child.
Yeah.
We weren't going to
Right.
do it anymore, right? Because
Right.
I had lost the baby, I had lost my fallopian tube. The only one side ovulated now, the other side was done. So I was like, give it up. Like I guess
Right.
we're going to
Right.
have one baby and put all our love into that baby kind of thing. And I
Yeah.
always wanted a big family. So I always
Oh,
wanted like a big family. So
yeah.
when we had Neve, we were like, okay, that's done. Because I also went into labor with her at 32 weeks and spent the last month in the hospital. So
Right.
Ryan was like, there's no way I could do this solo parenting with two kids at home and you be in the hospital for another baby. So he was like, I think
Right.
we need to call it here. And I was like, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, but that totally, I think that's probably part
Courtney.
of the reason why I was so keen to bill it because I want a big
Right.
family,
Yeah.
right? Like
And this is the way,
full circle.
and quite honestly, like this makes so much sense to me because you were a second mom to
Mhm.
Max while he was here. Like there, you could hear it in your voice, your pride,
Oh
your
yeah.
dedication. Like you are
Oh
there
yeah.
for
Like
them, and
I'm a
also
mom.
why.
That's what I say. I'm a
Well, that's what I was
mom.
going to say, and also probably why you thrived so much in the job you had before this, because you were
Yes.
working with younger people, and
Hmm.
you were able to connect with
I
them,
called them my
and
kids. Same thing at Western.
yeah.
The students I worked with, I called them my kids. Like
But
because I love
Courtney,
being a
like
mom.
I said at the very beginning, all of it you went through would have been so discouraging. The fact that you continued to try and didn't give up and ended up with two beautiful people in your life. Like,
Yeah.
how amazing is that? Like, it says a lot about your strength and about your determination. Because, like, honestly, I don't think at 3, I probably would have been like, I can't keep going through this heartbreak. And I wanted to be a mama too.
Yeah.
I didn't want to be a big family mama, but I did want children. And
Yeah.
wow, Courtney,
Did I
I'm in
not
awe.
tell you that before? How
No, you
many?
told
No.
me this and we've
Yeah.
talked about it before. And I knew that there was multiples. I don't think I knew that there was 9. I knew that you had had more than one miscarriage.
Yeah.
And I knew that you had to use IVF. Um, but that's a lot to go. That's a lot to go through, not only for you, but also for you as a couple.
Yeah. Yeah. I think so. Funny story with that.
Mhm.
We did a documentary. So we were featured in a documentary. It was on the Women's Network.
What?
Our
I had
episode
no
was
idea.
called
You have to find
yeah,
this.
our episode was called Best Laid Plans. And it was basically
Okay.
before we got pregnant with Kian. It was actually
Okay.
during one of the losses.
Oh,
So they were filming us during one of the losses, yeah. And it's funny because that the way they portrayed it, it made it seem like Ryan wouldn't stay with me if I didn't get pregnant and have a baby. Like it was so funny just the way they played it. Like so funny. It's not true at all. Like
oh my
before we
gosh.
even started trying, he was like, I don't care if we have kids or not, blah, blah,
Right.
blah, blah. And I think it made us stronger. Now, like Ryan and I have been together since we were 16. So we've gone through so much.
Yeah.
And like my not being here has, that kind of thing. He's actually not from London. So we used to only see each other on the weekends anyways. And like just so much things that wouldn't happen today.
Right.
Right. Like things that would have been stacked against you that wouldn't have worked
Yeah.
out back then was a thing, kind of
Right.
thing. So, but
Wow.
my saying that, your story is completely different. So tell us a
Completely
little bit about
different.
how with your Kayla,
And yet still
who's
some
now
challenges.
engaged.
My Kayla that's now engaged. So I was 16 when I found out that I was pregnant, 17 when I had her. Um, and, just like, scary as heck. But what still to this day, I don't know if it shocks me or just is, I think it's just so impressive, was I knew immediately. As soon as I saw that stick, I
Yeah.
knew, okay, yeah, this is it. She's coming. I'm ready for her. This is meant
Yeah.
to be. I'm supposed to do this right now. And it was very hard for many people around me, the adults in the room, to accept that I was able to accept that so quickly. Because I was a typical teenager, like I
Hmm.
flitted around. I didn't have responsibility, didn't want responsibility. Now, I had been babysitting since I was 8 years old, so I knew how to take care of a little person. But I'm the second oldest of, so I had a younger brother and younger sister. And so, went through all that as well. So it wasn't like I'd never experienced this, but I was not afraid. I was afraid to tell my parents. I was afraid to go through that.
Hmm.
Uh, but it was, like I said, it was really hard for them to accept the fact that I was so adamant about this is the only
Yeah.
option. And they, my parents tried to convince, not convince me, but tried to keep me open to the options. And even, the idea of abortion, which I'm not against abortion if that's
Hmm.
right for you.
Yeah.
I,
Yeah.
I just, it was not an option. I just couldn't
Hmm.
live with myself. I couldn't live with myself knowing that she was out there somewhere
Yeah.
and that I wasn't her mom. And
Yeah.
so it just, yeah. And I ended up moving out of my parents' house before, like, while I was pregnant, well, early on. I think I was just a few weeks pregnant, maybe a few months, but under 3 months, and moved out and in with Troy and his family and stayed there throughout my pregnancy and did it somewhat independently. My parents came back into
Hmm.
our world after she was about 3 months old, I think, and were very helpful when they did come
Hmm.
back in. But then for Isabel, so I'd done it. I'd done it once. It all happened, no
Yeah.
problem. So
Yeah.
then we got married around the same time. I think I was 25 when we got married, and same thing. It's like, let's do
Hmm.
it. This is happening.
Yep.
On our honeymoon, we went to Cuba, and
And we went
this
to Cuba
mos-
too.
did you really? Probably there at the same time. Mosquitoes were horrible, so they were spraying for mosquitoes, and you'd walk through the fog of mosquito spray, like whatever it was.
Yeah.
And so we were trying to get pregnant, and it took 5 years, and I was convinced we hadn't gotten to the point of going to the doctor for it. We were getting close to that, but I was convinced that it had something to do with that bug spray in Cuba for so many years. And then and had a few, I would say, early, like very early, where I
Yeah.
was like, okay, I'm a few weeks late, and then the next, and then I'd have like a heavy period that,
Yeah. Yeah.
and so there was a few times where I convinced myself I was pregnant, and and then the period would come and how devastating
Yeah.
that would be. Um, yeah, so then it took, I was 30 when I finally did get pregnant with Isabel. And it was, luckily, it all went smooth, no issues.
Yeah.
Although both girls, Kayla, I ended up having to be induced for. Isabel was going in to be induced, and my water broke. We went home that day and
Wow.
started cleaning the house to get ready.
Yeah.
I'm like on my
Yeah.
hands and knees washing the floor. And because
Yeah.
my water hadn't broken with Kayla, I didn't know what to expect. I didn't know what it felt like. I didn't know what it was.
Yeah.
So it happened. And I went upstairs and I'm like, I think my water broke. And Troy's like, what do you mean you think? Like, wouldn't you know? Like, don't I said, well, it kind of feels like I peed my pants, but like I didn't have to pee. And then that's what it felt like.
Yeah.
And then I'm sitting there, I'm like, and it's still breaking because it doesn't turn off. Like, it's not like a whoosh and it's done. Like
Yeah.
it trickles. And
Yeah.
so I don't know if this is TMI, but here you go. You're all getting a little glimpse. I mean, I'm an open book. Here you go. I sat on the toilet because my appointment wasn't until 7 o'clock, and this was whatever 5 o'clock,
Yeah.
and I'm still dripping. So I sat on the toilet and ate chicken nuggets because I was hungry before I went in to get induced. Probably not the smartest thing, but I hadn't started with contractions,
Yeah.
so I didn't think it was like that big of a. Anyways, so that's how Isabel came to be. But it's
That's
crazy, like it.
hilarious.
Yeah, but I was convinced there was something wrong
Yeah.
with Isabel. But then, okay, so then you fast forward, and after I had her was when I started having my issues with my uterus, and I
Hmm.
think we may have done one of our
I
episodes
think we
talking about
did
our
do an
uterus
early
issues.
podcast on yeah, hysterectomy and that.
But one of the things that my I had was my uterus was actually heart shaped, so it went
Oh, you
in
did
the
say
middle
that.
and
That's
pointed
right.
down.
Yeah.
And often that would actually cause miscarriage because if the
Oh.
embryo, what's the word? Not adheres, but
Attached,
attached. Thank
implanted,
you.
implant.
Implanted in the wrong spot as
Yeah.
they grow, they could have gone into the point, and then that could cause
Oh.
issues. Yeah. So the
Oh.
fact that both girls came and both girls, um, we got right to the end with
Yeah.
no issues. But after Isabel, the plan was to have a second. So to have three
Oh,
children
okay.
total,
To have three.
because
Yeah.
it was 13 years difference between Kayla and
Hmm.
Isabel. And
Yeah.
so let's have two back to back so that they
Hmm.
have siblings and there's a little
Yeah.
bit more of it's like having two families, you know?
Yes. Yeah.
And it's the same thing. We tried and it never happened.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So third baby was not meant to be. And then I got to the point where then I was over it. I was like, okay, no, I don't want anymore. So that when I was having my issues and had a hysterectomy at age
Hmm.
40, they were like,
Yeah.
well, you could want more. What if somebody else? I'm like, at this
Yeah.
point in my life, I can't. And I bow down to the woman over the age of 40 who has children,
Oh my gosh.
because
It's got to be so
the
tiring. I can't
the
imagine.
difference between Kayla and Isabel and my energy.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to move into
I see
the
the sun.
golden hour
Yeah.
light.
Yeah. Yeah.
But the difference between having young and having like
Hmm.
from 17 to 30,
Yeah.
huge, right? With Kayla, I had to go to school. I
Yeah.
had homework. I had because I Kayla was
Well, you're
born in
still a
July.
kid.
I went back to school in September because I
Yeah.
wanted to get grade 12 so that then I
Yeah.
had options available to me.
Yeah.
So I wasn't going to take time off until I finished. So
Hmm.
luckily I had supports who helped during
Yeah.
the day. But like Kayla was sleeping through the night at 3 months.
Yeah.
And then what I say, and when I do talk about this is that because you're younger, you're more selfish,
Yes.
right? And so you're
Yeah.
able to be like, no, I got to do this. You're going to be fine. And
Hmm.
you can not take it not get upset and take it personally
Yeah.
when
You
they
don't.
are upset, right? It's like, okay, I know you're going to cry for a
Yeah.
little bit. That's okay.
Yeah.
I know I go in and check. Okay. No, everything's good. You're fine. Okay. You just got to
Yeah.
settle. Um, but with Isabel, because I tried for so long, it was kind
Yeah.
of that thing of like, okay, miracle baby. I didn't think I was going to even get to have a second one.
Yeah.
And I was so concerned about everything. Like it took longer for me to go out without her.
Yeah.
I would, if she cried, I'd cry. I remember the day that I came home with her, and we had people come over to see her, and because you get let out of the hospital so
Hmm.
early that now
Yeah.
there's no visiting hours, and I understand that now,
Yeah.
because at one point I was like, I need my baby back and I need you all to
Yeah.
leave.
Leave.
I can't
Yeah.
take this. Exactly. But I think with her that I went through a bit of postpartum. I just didn't know that that's what I was going through with her. And
Yeah.
it wasn't postpartum like I wanted nothing to do with her, or like the postpartum for me was like that attachment. Like I needed
Yeah.
her
Yeah.
near
Just
me
you. Yeah.
as much as possible. I would fall asleep with her in my arms
Yeah.
constantly. I still remember the first time I went out. We went to see Blue Rodeo in Stratford with my cousins.
Yeah.
And so I was a little bit reluctant to go. It was a hard time. It took a lot for Troy to
Yeah.
convince me that, and she's being left with Kayla and with probably my mom. Like she would have been
Yeah.
left with,
Yeah. Somebody close.
it's not a babysitter. We aren't paying the kid
Yeah.
down the street to do this. It's family members who are taking
Yeah.
care of her. And oh god. So I still remember it. We're sitting there, and if anybody's ever seen, have you ever seen Blue Rodeo live?
Yeah. I have. Yeah.
Okay, so Blue Rodeo likes to do their solos.
Yeah.
And it
Yes.
felt like to me that
Forever.
every song had a solo for
At the end.
every single
Yes.
instrument. Every single
Yes.
guy did like
Yeah.
a 5-10 minute solo. And I was like,
Yeah.
I remember sitting there like just being like, the fuck are they gonna stop? Like I get it. Like you're good. You're good. Let's move to the next song. Like,
Yeah.
come on now. Like Jesus Christ is getting
I
late.
got somewhere to go.
I gotta go. My baby needs me. And then we had like, so Stratford's a what, 45-minute drive from London?
Yeah. For me, it's
Something
half an
like
hour,
that,
but
about
I'm in
that?
the very, very edge of the city. So yeah.
Yeah. So a half
Yeah.
hour,
Yeah.
45 minutes. Like it's
Yeah.
a bit of a trek. And then
Yeah.
I'm thinking that on top of that, it's like, it's 11 o'clock and now we got to get the drive home.
You're
And
like, I gotta go. I gotta go.
my baby needs me. I need my baby. Oh my gosh. I have a little bit of PTSD now when I hear Blue Rodeo play. And like, oh, you,
So
you and your
funny.
solos. Stop showing
So
off.
funny.
Get to the point. Yeah. So
It,
that,
it,
yeah.
it was some, so you were talking and it just made, I don't even know why it reminded me of, so being that Kian is an IVF baby and,
Mhm.
Neve, she was natural.
Right.
Kian, I just only learned this maybe 2 years ago, maybe 3 years ago. Kian used to tell Neve that he was made perfect. So he couldn't do anything wrong, that he was genetically made perfect by the doctor. And so that he was the perfect child and that she was not. And I had no idea she believed him. She literally believed him until
Oh,
she was in grade 9.
Nevy.
She
Oh,
believed that
no.
he was the perfect child and that she was like left sloppy seconds kind of thing. Like I had no idea that he was saying this to her on the side. And he would do it quite often, apparently. And I
That's such
had
a
no
brother
idea
thing.
because she never brought it up. She never
Yeah.
said anything. And I can't even remember what she brought up. And she said it. And I was like, are you kidding me? Do you really believe that? And she goes, I did. Yeah. She's like, I
Oh,
did.
Nevy.
I believed him when he said that. I was like,
Oh, no.
oh my gosh, girl.
Yeah. Poor Neve. But that's such a
Which
brother thing to
it
do.
is. It definitely is such a brother thing. But yeah, so that's why this whole topic came up this week because, we took in Max as a billet and then over
Yeah.
Christmas we
Yeah.
took Igor in as a billet. And to me, they're mine. So
Right.
I am their Canadian mom. They are
Right.
my children. I bought them Christmas presents. I buy them things all the time. I think of them all the time. Like they are my kids. So both of them are back home in Russia. And
Right.
I hadn't heard from Max, I think it was. I hadn't heard from him and I was like, "Oh, it's so weird. I wonder what he's doing." And I went to message him and Eve was like, "Mom, stop." And I was like, "What?" She's like, "He's not yours." And I go, "What?" And she's like, "He's not your kid. You're not his mom. He has a mom. He doesn't need you anymore." I started crying. I was like, my heart
Oh.
was breaking because they're mine. Like, I know that you have your own mom, but
Yeah.
you're still part of my family. Like, I take in Kian's friends too. Like,
Right.
we've had his friends stay with us. Like, you now are part of my family. I think of you just like I would my own kids kind of thing. But yeah, when she said
Right.
that to me, I was like, oh. And so at one point, she said something else to me a couple days later because I heard from him. He messaged to say he got his visa. So I was all excited. He got his US visa. So,
Oh,
and I was
right, because
telling
he's
her,
got. When's the draft?
so the draft is the end of June and the NHL combine is the end of May. So very like
Okay.
soon. So yeah, so he met with the US consulate and got his visa approved. Well, super exciting. He messaged to say that. And I was telling her, and she was like, Mom, stop. And I was like, why are you so mean to me? I was like, like I can also be his mom and your mom. Like
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
am just, if we have another billet this year, if we have Max as well, like I just get more kids. Like in my
Right.
mind, I get more kids. I don't care. Like
Right.
as long as I'm mumming someone.
Yeah.
So that's what I always say.
Well,
No, I'm
and
mumming you.
I'm mumming you. And Neve is becoming more and more independent and
Yes.
not needing you to that level anymore.
Yes. I think she doesn't like to see me.
No, she doesn't.
No.
No, she
So
wants
she
to do
also
all to
same
herself.
exactly. It's the same thing with Kian. If Kian calls and she wants to have a conversation with me, she gets super mad. She'll sit in the room with me and be very, very like
Neve.
you would never know
That's
that.
funny.
Like these, you would never know that she was as needy as she is because she seems so independent, right?
Yeah,
Like,
I know. I know. Or
yeah.
like she doesn't need anybody. Like she's totally
Yeah.
I got all
Self-sufficient,
I need right here.
independent.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
No. It's all the front.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I know. It's her
Oh,
mask. The mask she
yes.
wears to get through life.
Yes. Yes, it is. So crazy. But yeah, so I mean, I think it's good that we have both different perspectives of, the how to become a mom so that like when you're talking to somebody in the studio, we have all the different, you know what I mean? Like we have all the different backgrounds.
Yeah, and like I said at
Everybody
the
has a
very
different
beginning, as
path.
natural as it is, it's not as easy as you think it should be.
No.
Some, yes, it is, and some,
Yeah.
no, it's not. And I think the other side of this is that exactly what you're saying about Max and having other billets is that they don't have to be the children that you've birthed for you to
No.
have them as your child.
Yeah,
It's making me think
exactly.
of actually my cousin who, a friend of hers, passed away, and her two kids were very young. I'm going to totally mess this up, but I think they were 9 and 13 or nine, somewhere around there,
Hmm.
but they were young.
Yeah.
And my cousin stayed involved in their life, and now they call her mom, and
Yeah.
they it's her house that they go to for Christmas,
Yeah.
and it's her who they lean on. And she didn't have kids of her own birthing them,
Yeah.
but she has
But she
two
has
kids.
children. Yeah.
She has
I
two
I
kids,
I
and they,
truly believe
yeah,
that. It's has nothing to do with your because my
no,
niece is adopted. It has nothing to do with biology at all.
mm-mm,
At all.
no.
Nope. As long as you have an
and
open heart, you have lots of love to give.
and I think, and again, I'm saying this as someone who birthed two, but you don't have to birth them to love them. You don't have to,
Mm-mm.
yeah. And I think that I've put that out, and I've struggled with that sometimes with Mother's Day, of like, how do you word it? Because
Well, Mother's Day is coming up,
essentially,
eh?
exactly, and it's more than just the mother. It's the nurturer in your life, the
It is.
person who
Yes.
makes you feel safe, the person who
Yep.
you turn to when you had a bad day or when you need
Yeah.
advice. And that person can be an aunt, that person can be an
That person
uncle,
could be
that
your
person could
coworker.
be, exactly. There's even some clients that, and maybe this is unfair to them and they know exactly who they are, who sometimes I'll lean on them
Hmm.
as like a mama
Yeah.
kind of figure, because
Yeah.
we all need that in our
We
life.
do.
And when
Yeah.
you don't have it, it's
Exactly.
hard.
It is hard. It definitely. But yes. So I think here goes Courtney with her and so
And so, and the big, usually it's a bigger exhale, a big sigh usually.
I know. I started to
And
do it and I was like, And so I was like,
And so,
and so we come to the end of another one of our podcasts. This is a podcast where
yeah,
actually we are using a different software. So we're trying a different software and
we
we're doing it from
are.
different locations. So
Yeah.
we'll see
And
how
so
this
hopefully
goes.
this will solve some of our sound issues. And
Hmm.
thank you to those who have listened all along,
Yes. And given us
who have
feedback and
given us feedback,
suggestions.
but also listen through the good times
Yes.
and
The
the
terrible.
bad.
Yeah. Yeah.
We may have to
Yeah.
like go back and like retape the first season
Yeah.
or something.
I do
Some of
think we
those
need to
topics.
redo the topics. Yeah.
Yeah.
We had some
Yeah,
good ones.
maybe. We
Yes.
did. Yeah. I
Did.
mean, the first
Yes.
season. Anyways, you let us know. What do you want? Do you want us to retape it or
Yes.
should we keep going?
Yes.
Our
Let
our
us know.
avid listeners. All right. Well, thank you all for listening or watching, whatever you're doing today. We appreciate it so much, and we want to thank you for being part of our community. Have a
Bye,
great one.
guys.